I'm JD Haas. Let me tell you a little bit about who I am and what I'm about. Well, there's a new level of green now in America, and I fit the bill. See, we need to make a change from old thinking to new thinking. I come from the old way, but I have to learn new ways. I didn't know I was green when I first started, but the more I learned about reclaimed lumber and the business venture I went into, the more it became personal to me and as a way of life. It's all about reliving the beauty of the past through today's reclaimed lumbers. I'm going to tell you a little story now about a very plentiful tree that was used many, many years ago. It's the red and white oak tree. This lumber was used to build America and make structures for shelters when Columbus came, and as the settlers settled and moved their way across the West. The red white oak is being reclaimed from factories, barns, warehouses, and industrial sites to be used in today's modern building. The structural characteristics of the antique reclaimed woods are far beyond where they are at today. This material grew for 100 to 150 years in a canopy growth forest. That means that was America's rainforest at that time, where light would not pass through the trees and create a slow growth process. Weather and time is what it took to make this piece of wood, which is now being used for today's new design characteristics in today's modern homes. In today's farming of new grade lumber, a 20 to 25-year-old tree is an old tree. The growth period is much faster, the hardness is softer because of the time it took to grow that living species. So this is a red and white oak reclaimed lumber. We just took a product off the old Magnolia Railroad site in Magnolia, Ohio. It was built in 1899, and we're going to head out to a project and we're going to show you the end result and what we did with that in today's design setting. We're at Sierra Terrace, where this project started in 1899. And now we're in 2009, 110 years later. This whole project started in Magnolia, Ohio at the Railroad Center. This project was constructed in 1899, dismantled in 2006, then held in a storage facility and manufactured upon my request for this custom project. You know, the materials are over 110 years old on this project. We can't even date back how old the actual living growth when the tree was standing. So we're looking between 250 and 300 years old. Most projects like these that are dismantled, they aren't dismantled. They are actually driven over by a bulldozer and thrown in a landfill. Well, the company I work with, Old Limited, goes in and hand dismantles these old projects by hand, board by board, piece by piece, and then they take it back to their manufacturing facility, stack it, wait for an order, then they kiln dry it and fabricate it into the materials that are needed for today's design projects. What we have here is a red and white oak mix. It was primary virgin forest from east of the Mississippi. And this material, the attributes to it are not to be found in standing living growth trees as there is. Basically what we have here is America's rainforest. This was the canopy forest in the east that stood standing for 150 to 200 years before the settlers came to America and cut them down. The bigger they were, the harder they fell, the bigger the structures they made. They used what they needed, they left the rest to lay. They didn't know what they know today. And what we have is one heck of a beautiful piece of material with strong structural grains and history to be used in today's design characteristics and settings. You know, I'm very proud to take this material and reuse it and basically recycle it and be part of the environmentally green movement. Watching these old buildings get demolished by bulldozers and thrown in the landfill is sad, because I know the outcome and what we can do with this stuff. So for us to dismantle it and take it and reuse it and create the projects that we create today, I am so proud and so grateful that I can do this and partner up with a company as Oldwood Limited to come up with these projects and finalize them. And here's our end result. People talk about animals being extinct. Trees have become extinct too over the past 100 years. When American settlers came to America and settled in the east and moved their way west, they cut down trees for shelter. One of the most desirable trees that was not very plentiful was the American chestnut. The American chestnut tree was chopped down into extinction. There are no living forms of this species of tree left in North America at this time. If you can notice, the golden hues and the tones within this wood make it very, very desirable for today's design characteristics. But also the fact that this is an extinct species being reused in today's building techniques is one more fact that reliving the beauty of the past through reclaimed lumber is the direction of America. We're here on Timberlake Drive in the new Timberlake development in beautiful Truckee. What do you say we go inside and take a look at this antique wormy reclaimed beach floor? And the house is designed by Ward Young Architects. Come on. As you notice in the antique wormy beach, it is littered with wormholes. These wormholes were dug out over time from pests and insects that lived within the wood and called this home. We take this wood now, we put it in a kiln, dry it to 7 to 9%, kill all the bugs, all the insects, all the worms, and we come up with a very desirable finish for today's modern home. That's the antique wormy beach. From the fields of Virginia to southern Georgia and all the way to the Carolinas, it's the reclaimed tobacco pine. This wood is readily available. It's being reclaimed from tobacco pine barns. With its characteristics of smoke-filled rooms and long barns of hanging the tobacco leaves, this is now readily available as the projects are being dismantled. I want to tell you about a project in historic downtown Truckee. It's a project that was working on a building that was built in the late 1800s, and the flooring was worn out, and I had to meet a certain price point. Well, in my projects that I work on currently right now, my clients desire very long length boards and wide. The 1 to 2 foot boards that are left over basically post-consumer recycled waste, if we could put it that way. We took those products, bought them at a certain amount of dollar, and we were able to finish this project in historic downtown Truckee and maintain the character and the image of that property and meet the budget. For those of you wine lovers who want to live from the barrel that you drank from, we are now reclaiming quarter sawn white oak from wine barrels in Northern California. Very desirable. The lids and the bases are being used to make hexagon flooring tiles for your home. And to state the point, you can have it from either side. You can have your floor manufactured and milled with the old wine stains in them from aging the wine, to a select grade with no wine stains at all for your home decor. How the West was won and how the West was built. It's all about Doug fir. And as the gold rush came, so did the men and so did the ladies of the evening. Now, as you notice in the Doug fir reclaimed floors, the structure is much wider in the grain structure. This is because the winters are not as harsh on the West Coast. We can get 6 feet of snow in 3 days, but 2 days later it can be 70 degrees. It's not a long, hard, cold winter as the East Coast, which then grew very much harder species of woods. But the Doug fir tree and the American black walnut are the most readily available on the West Coast in reclaimed lumbers. Reclaimed lumbers reliving the beauty of the past. And the beauty of the past is a time that I search back to in my mind. And I can go there every single time with every single piece of reclaimed lumber I pick up. It changes that scenery of America we have today, from skyscrapers to concrete to cement to glass, rumbling trucks and 400 million people, to a time when man was just man and he lived off the earth and he only took what he needed, which was for shelter, clothing, and food. All he needed to do was survive. That's the inner part of me. I didn't know these things about myself until I started this venture into this business. It is a cool venture and it is a part of me, and I've only learned more by doing this every day. See, I have to change my thinking. My thinking used to be, oh, hippies, long hair, those guys are green. I don't want to be like them. Well, you know what? Jerry Garcia's dead, but I can still live from the words he made, and I can move forward in today's society. So I have to try and do new thinking processes, and those processes, you learn them every single day. They don't just come. It's hard to stand here and tell you why I'm green, because I'm learning every single day. I wasn't born green. I have to learn to be green. I come from a time and a period when desire was desire, take what you need, throw away the rest. Well, as I built my business and I grew up as a human, I learned that that was not the way to live. As I live in Tahoe and I learn about my area and I enjoy the outdoors so much, the outdoors are my grocery store. They supply me food, they supply me water. It's very important to me as a human, as somebody participating in this thing we call life, to make changes in my environment. I may not make all these changes. I like four-wheel drives. I like skateboards. I like baseball. I like NASCAR racing. I'm an American, everybody. But I do have to make some sort of changes for the best. And those changes that I'm making for the best are going to come slowly. And someday, I might meet that level. What is that level? There's people out there trying to tell us all about that level of green. They're saying, I'm greener than God. My hair's long. I drink organic beer. But what about the guy who drinks Budweiser or Coors? What about the guy who drives a Chevy 4x4? What about the rest of the people in America? Those are the people that I want to be part of. I want to help go in America and drive the new wave of green. Whether it's electric cars, wind, it doesn't matter. That's what it's about for me. So I'm J.D. Haas. I don't know where my level's at, but I know one thing. I know that the hook is in my heart and the dream is in America.